Warzone 2 has elicited some really strong opinions. It doesn't seem like there's anybody who's in the middle of the discussion. People either love the game or they hate it. So why is that? What is it about this game that has made it so divisive? Before we get into that, we got to talk about the background of Warzone 1. Modern Warfare 2019 came out in October of that year, with many people praising the return to realism in the Call of Duty franchise. With previous games like Black Ops 4 and Infinite Warfare wandering too far into futuristic combat, the player base was begging for boots on the ground, and the developers gave us this gem. The multiplayer was great, the modes were fun, I liked the maps, but then in March of 2020, in the very beginning of the uncertainty that became the pandemic, it dropped. Warzone 1. The Call of Duty Battle Royale amassed 30 million players in the first 10 days and had over 50 million players in the first month. The timing was perfect. We needed something to do, and there it was. It was seemingly the perfect execution of the things we liked most about Call of Duty multiplayer on a much larger scale, with some interesting new tweaks. Buying back teammates, the gulag, getting your guns you set up in your loadout, made this really memorable in a really special way. Content creators were playing, average Joes, little Timmys were playing. Everybody was talking about it. It wasn't always perfect, the weapons weren't always balanced, there were game-ending glitches, there were cheaters. But Warzone 1 has an unfair advantage over Warzone 2 that Warzone 2 might never overcome. It brought us together during a very dark time. We were all on the same page that we could drop into Verdansk and have a good time. Warzone 1, especially during the early Verdansk days, will always have a soft spot in our heart. So what does this mean comparatively for Warzone 2? Another issue in the perception of Warzone 2 is that we played Warzone 1 much longer than a normal Call of Duty cycle. We generally have a game for 1 year, then get something else the following fall. In this case, we got the same engine, UI, movement system from March of 2020 till November 2022. While we got some additions, the perks, guns, attachments, and contracts were all very similar from the beginning to the end. Warzone 1 is the ex-girlfriend we broke up with because of distance or because the logistics didn't work out, not because we wanted to break up. Warzone 2 is that new girlfriend that you're always going to compare that old girlfriend to. We didn't just love the actual game, we loved the concept. We viewed it fondly. We all loaded up and dropped in over 2 years. Warzone 2 wasn't doomed to fail, but it has an absolute uphill battle after so many years and so many fond memories of Warzone 1. So what's wrong with Warzone 2? Nothing is wrong with it. People tend to confuse wrong with different. Warzone 2 is different from Warzone 1. There are changes that were purposely made by the developers that have given the game a different feel that genuinely affects the outcome of the game. So let's talk about the main discussion points that are polarizing the community currently. TTK, the time to kill. It's just too fast. It's faster in many circumstances than Warzone 1. Ask anybody and there's plenty of times they've been melted before they can either 1 turn around, 2 plate up, or 3 find cover. This means that gunfights are more of a toss-up than anything else, and this likely feels much more random to higher skill players. What everyone isn't mentioning is that everyone, regardless of skill level, has benefited from this at times. It's just frustrated when it happens back to us. Since you die quicker, much more emphasis is put on positioning, how you rotate, when you engage, what weapon you are carrying, and whether or not you have a 3-plate armor vest. This directly feeds into my next point of discussion: skill gap. There is noticeably much less opportunity for advanced movement in this game. There is no slide canceling. Bunny hopping doesn't exactly exist as it has in previous games. The movement in this new game also feels a lot more mechanical and less smooth. While it's ridiculous to assume that everyone can adapt their playstyle to this new movement system, when you couple this with the TTK, it becomes much harder to stand out as a player, as there are many more ways to die quickly. The best players have adapted because they are the best, but when good players aren't winning gunfights consistently, then it starts to come across as a lack of a skill gap versus having a balanced ecosystem. My perspective is that a balanced ecosystem is what they were trying to attain, and I think that's still possible. But forcing a balanced game does not seem the wisest way to make a game seem more approachable. Intelligently executed skill-based matchmaking in a rank mode likely gives you a much more approachable game versus chasing higher skill players off with systematic restraints. As with the previous point, there are times this has benefited everyone. More often than not, this benefits lower skill players at the expense of higher skill players. There's always multiple sides to every discussion. If you're an above average player, then you're probably feeling like you've been nerfed into the ground and are wondering why the Call of Duty franchise has turned on you. If you're an average Joe, you probably feel like you have a brand new life in this game and finally have an opportunity to win. If you enjoyed the old game, then you're probably scratching your head about the removal of familiar functionality. If you're someone who goes with the flow and you wanted something new, then you're probably pretty happy with where things are headed. So what do you guys think? Do you like Warzone 2? If you like it, do you think there are changes that need to be made? If you don't like Warzone 2, what do you think they should change? What changes would they have to make to bring you back to the game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you guys are interested in this and future Call of Duty content, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Have a great day, guys.